How many people watched the ball game the other day? All right. How many of you feel like at the end of the season that we're going to be able to say that Tennessee's number one? All right. Yeah. Probably not so much, right? Not so much. Maybe by some fluke. How many of you would like to say that Tennessee's number one, right? We'd like to say that. All right. I can tell you of an assurity, based on information that I have, that Tennessee is absolutely number one. All right, y'all, can I pep you up with that? All right, I can pep you up. Tennessee is number one. All right, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. We found out that Tennessee is number one in the probably one of the worst statistics ever.
At the UT College of Engineering, the students have developed a driving simulator to collect data from different driving scenarios. And it's no surprise distracted drivers get in more accidents.
When they use a cell phone or when they distracted from other stuff. And as you can see here, we can analyze the steering angle.
The results from the simulator shows you're more likely to swerve when you're distracted. Backed up by a study from the National Safety Council, which puts the volunteer state at the top of the list for deadly crashes involving cell phones. While I was texting and driving, I ran a stoplight, almost caused a car crash, and either went way too fast or way too slow. Lieutenant Don Boshears from the Tennessee Highway Patrol says distracted drivers are as much of a threat as drivers who are impaired.
Sometimes a distracted driver will give off the same type of They'll act just like an impaired driver will. They'll maybe weave a little bit in their lane or move from lane to lane, slow down, speed up.
Could they get a ticket?
They could. They could get a citation.
The Tennessee Highway Patrol wants drivers to focus on their safety and hopefully stop distracted driving.
You know, sometimes it's not always about writing a ticket. You know, maybe if I can explain to you and talk to you about the dangers of distracted driving and get you to not do that, that's the bottom line. We just don't want you to be distracted. We want you to pay attention to what's going on in your vehicle.
And you got to wonder what that simulator was like. What was it like?
Well, Ted and Brittany, it's actually way harder than it looks. When you actually went in there and started driving, it really just made you open up your eyes and make you think that even just like in a split second, something can go wrong. And if you're not paying attention, you miss it. So pretty dangerous.
Good thing to keep in mind when we're on the roads too, boy.
Exactly.
Neat
Very
things.
interesting stuff. Yep.
Appreciate it.
So number one, how does that make you feel? Out of 50 states, we're number one. Now some of that may be attributed to how we keep statistics. A lot of that is how they enter the information into the Titan. Accidents are recorded, but in any case, that's not where we want to be. We do not want to be number one. That's not a statistic that we want, but that's where we're at. So it's one thing to be in the car and be worried about distracted driving, but it's a whole nother ball game to be behind these barrels and be worried about distracted driving. So that's one thing we want to think about. So if we look about worker fatalities, we talked about work zone fatalities and we talked about motorist fatalities in the work zone. Worker fatalities, in 2014 there were 119 worker fatalities. These are in the work zone. If you look at this, and these statistics are kind of like all over the place as far as how they jump. If you look at the primary fatality causes, 48% of these were run over backovers, 14% were collision, and 14% were caught in between or struck by. So it's sobering. It should be very sobering for us. And I say this, and we'll have more fun as the day goes on, but I want to enforce and reinforce to everybody in this room. And how many people have been here less than a month? I know some of you have been here less than just a little bit. So it's not too late to back out. No, I'm just kidding. I want to tell you that you've entered into a very dangerous job. And I'm not saying that to get you to leave. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am telling you, that we can do our job, and we can do it, but we have to do it safely. We can do it. There has to be a great degree of watchfulness. There has to be a great degree of keeping your head on the swivel and watching for things. The minute that we step behind these barrels and these cones and we're careless and we get comfortable and we're sitting here working and we're doing this number and we forget where we're at, then we become a statistic. That's not what we want to be, right? That's not what we want to be. Okay, so that's the seriousness of what we do. And that's why flagging is important. Does anybody know how many fatalities that TDOT had last year? 3 fatalities. That's unprecedented. I don't know In my 19-year career, I don't know that we've ever had that many fatalities. How many know how many flagger fatalities we had last year? One of those was a flagger. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. That's why we're redoing this class. That's why that flagging is important. Because, not only that, because one of the reasons, another reason, that is a huge, huge reason, because the over and over, and how many of y'all have drove up or been involved with the flagging activity? I mean, you can raise your hand, you say whatever, and seen it and saw, this ain't right. This does not look good. This does not look safe at all. How many of y'all seen one then? How many of y'all have been involved in a flagging activity that does not look safe, does not look like, this is not the way we want to do this. This is not. I went to a job the other day, 2 guys that had been in my class, that was a disaster. It was a total disaster. And I'm like, guys, have y'all even been to flagging class? Yeah, I was in your class just the other day. I'm like, what? What in the world? Well, guess what? Y'all get to go back. All right. So that's the whole point. So we're trying to take this and hammer these things home, because if there's things out there, if there's, and we'll talk about this more as the day goes through, because you all got to get it. You got to get it, because it's not your supervisor's responsibility. If you're out here, if you're on point, if you're standing right here and you're on point flagging, if something goes wrong, it's not the supervisor's responsibility. Whose responsibility is it? It's yours. You're on point. That's your job duty. That's what you're doing. That's what you do for the day. So you're not going to be able to stand right here and say, well, I didn't know. I don't know. When we give you a card at the end of the day today, or you probably want to get your card today, but when you get that flagging card and we say, hey, they've been to not just the 15-minute class, not the 3-hour class, but they've been to the upgraded 2.0 class, that's 6 hours. We're into tabletop activities. We're going to go to the back lot. We're going to put hands-on cones and barrels. We're going to set this thing out. And so by the end of the day, you're going to take a test and you're going to say, hey, I can fill this piece of paper out now that says I know how to do a flagging operation. So when you're out here, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for y'all to say, oh, I didn't know. I just didn't know. That's the importance of it, right? Because who is dependent on you to get your job right?
Co-workers.
Yeah. And everybody driving through, right? Who's the most important person on the job? Exactly. Because everybody is counting on who? Exactly. So who's the most important person on the job? Exactly. For the operation going on here, the most important, who's the first person they're going to see? Exactly. All right. So you're going to hear that over and over today. The most important person on the job for that day is who? The flagger. All right. So we'll get through there. So that's some statistics. So does anybody who's done flagging operations before? All right. You're the only one that's done flagging in this whole classroom. All right. It's okay. We're a big family here. All right. This is going to be interaction. Does anybody have any close calls while flagging? Close calls while flagging? What happened?
Had the work zone set up and everything, standing up to the side, stop sign out, woman come up on cell phone, flew right by. Just so happened everything was able to get the traffic stopped on the other side. Cell phone.
Didn't even pay attention to the sign.
She said, where's your signs at? I said, ma'am, we had, at that time we had 3 signs set up on each side.
Never even looked up?
No.
Anybody else?
State trooper about here, I think. No lights, no siren, going to help a buddy.
Wow. Just flew right through?
Well, he finally saved me and he slid through the gravel parking lot.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I had somebody slide by me. They seen me at the last second. I moved out of the way and they slid from by. Then they want to back up.
I had one over on 441 a few years back. Ronnie Bowden out in Anderson County. And a fella come through, he come by me. And he actually was into the back of his pickup truck and was accelerating, head down. He was impaired on his medication.
Yeah.
I was able to reach in, put it in park and shut his truck off.
Wow.
And TVA up there knew who he was. He really wasn't supposed to be driving because of his medication, but he'd get out and drive. It was right down by the weir dam.
Wow.
He made connections, and after he made the connections is when he started accelerating more. Didn't know what was going on.
I would imagine after a few years that everybody is going to have at least one or two of these stories. So it's no, I mean, don't think that because that we're here that we're supermen, superwomen. It's just how it happened. And so the main thing is that we can be trained to know how to react to these things.